Just want to give an update on our front lawn conversion process. So we finished one side, the 8 rows, and now we're moving on to the next beds. Today, a friend of mine lent me his rototiller, and this guy here, and I was able to finish up these beds. I borrowed someone's BCS, and it was just not that great at getting to the depth I needed. And so now behind me you can see we have all the rows ready per se, but now what happens is we need to do some mending. And as I may have mentioned in another video, what I learned was compost was not enough by itself. And so we're learning very quickly. Here we have some tomato plants, and these have been in the ground for, I'd say, a couple weeks. And when they first started, they were in that classical fashion where you plant them and they're just barely pointing out of the ground. And so there's really a lot of compost and amendment in here. But the organic materials I've talked about, or the bioactivity, is not that high. So we've built these 3 beds, and I've tried different experiments. I'm having 2 tomato plants here, indeterminates, and then I got 1 row of indeterminates here, and I'm trying to find out what will work better in an open environment. And so what I found is that the very silty soil also compacts really quickly, and so pulling weeds is not nearly as easy as it is on my other beds. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One of those is short, so let's say 6 beds. Actually just 5. That far one's actually going to be flowers. As I've talked about in other videos, we like planting flowers for pest control. So we really have 5 beds here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use horse manure again, and still do the normal amendments: bone meal, kelp, and a little bit of alfalfa meal. I'll do those normal amendments, but in this case I'm adding the horse manure kind of for the bioactivity of what's in the for the microbes and the likes, but also water retention, all those other good things, because as you'll notice, this soil is in the wind, as you can tell, into the wind. So it's very silty, quite rocky, and has no organic matter whatsoever. It was probably fill back in the day, and so right there you can kind of see what kind of composition that we're working on. So that's going to be the next step, and then of course we'll do drip irrigation and figure out what's going on. But I just wanted to give an update on what this front lawn project is like. The other thing is that the other thing that I've learned during this process, and I've talked about it before, is the sun and orientation. And this is still in sun. It's about 6 o'clock Western time in BC, and this is still getting sun, so this gets full sun, but I'm learning that this side over here gets shady very quickly, and in hindsight I should have done stuff like zucchini and the cucumbers over there instead, but now it's too late for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant lettuces over here. I'm going to transplant greens, these 3 rows especially, get tons of shade. I direct seeded some beets or some beans in this row, and holy suckerama, my germination rate was brutal. I might as well just throw the seeds out. So I'm taking it from scratch again, and I'm just going to do lettuces. Here I think I did beets or radishes, and again the germination rate has been like 30-40%, so pretty bad. Yeah, these are beets, and so not so good either. And on top of that, because I just did the sod, I desodded underneath here, I could very well have wireworm, and so I may very well be wasting my time, but I always like to try anyway just to see what the results are. Over here I did radishes on the far side, and they're not doing too hot either. And then lastly over here I've done spinach. And you might ask, what spinach? Where is it? And that's exactly the case. It just has not done well, and so I'll probably be redoing this into either flowers or something else. So just learning the whole process about what to do, and I think what I'm also going to do is what I need to finish up doing is I'm irrigating all of this space on one zone. and with one tap. And so, so far so good. Everything seems good with the 10 PSI regulator. It's been good. Right now what I have is I only actually have these 3 rows are teed at the very end and then leading over to the tomatoes that are over there. What I need to do is I need to tee off the end here as well, and then when I finish irrigating all this, sealing the loop is what I would call it. And then that way I can irrigate all of this on one zone without having to worry, which is really nice. Irrigation, my attitude is if you can't irrigate it, don't plant it. So that's the other thing I have to do at the end of this project is close the loop, and then it'll all be on drip and hopefully working. So we have 8 rows, 40 feet each here. So that gives me 320 feet worth of growing space. Similar over here. So we got about another, so 680 feet is the way I describe it, 3 foot wide rows. And so that's doubling the amount of production space that we have. One of the cons about this is going to be the fact that in wintertime, this kind of gets no sunlight whatsoever. So I'm gonna have to really reassess how that looks. Sorry. I'm gonna have to reassess how that looks in wintertime and fall to see if we can squeeze out any extra time out of it. Unlike the other plots that we're working on, the idea is that we'll be able to grow throughout the fall and winter at our other plots. But this is on the other side of the house and we're south facing, so anyway, the things we learn.